Welcome once again to the Lydia Amuge Mentoring Podcast, where I inspire, equip, and challenge you to build an income, impact, and influence through a purpose driven business. If you're joining us once again, thank you so much for sparing your time to be with me this evening. Today, I'll be talking about one of those really big monsters that people struggle with. I'll be talking about fear. I'll not just be talking about fear today, but I'll also be helping you how to actually overcome the fear that has been stopping you from building the business of your dreams. I remember the time I started my business journey. I remember it so well. I had just finished university and I decided to jump into the whole concept of entrepreneurship and business. That definitely meant that I also had some fears and insecurities within me. Remember, I've just come out from university and I'm trying to build a business where I'll need to speak to students, teachers, cooperatives, and large corporates, large corporate organizations, both government and non-government organizations. Now, averagely, I was about 23 years old. So you can imagine, I was starting a business and I was attempting to see how I could actually be able to serve people who are twice my age, some thrice my age. Definitely, I had some fears and insecurities within me. Despite the fact that I was passionate and very excited about the business that I'd started, I definitely had some fears and insecurities within me. So, just in case you're there and wondering, oh my God, Lydia, are you sure that you even had any fears and insecurities? You look like you've been confident from day one. Oh, I wish that was the story. That's not been my story from day one. The truth is that there were times when I was scared. I was scared about the fact whether the market would accept my product and services. I was scared about the fact whether they would listen to me. Remember, I had only come out of the university, 23 years old. How was I going to convince people twice and thrice my age that I have something valuable to share with them? So the truth is that I had deep insecurities within me. Now, many times because I looked confident, no one would see the insecurities and the fears that I was battling with on the inside. And so, one of the misconceptions people have is that confident people, someone who talks confidently, doesn't have any fears. That is not true. You can actually speak confidently, you can actually speak without stammering, and yet still struggle with certain fears within you. Now, what personally helped me at that time was that I had a business partner that I was working with. So we fed off on each other's courage. There are times when I was fearful and she was, so pumped up to do whatever we needed to do and would encourage me. And there are times when she was fearful and I would be the one who was, courageous that moment. And we fed off each other's courage. So that is honestly what helped me. But you're probably saying, Lydia, I'm unlucky. I don't have a good business partner like you. You don't need to worry. If you don't have a business partner like me, you'll find out how to overcome that fear today because I'm going to share with you a 7 step framework that doesn't need you to have a business partner. Whether you have a business partner or you don't have a business partner, you can still be able to overcome your fears with this 7 step framework. But of course, an additional person or a business partner, someone to cheer you on, is definitely a plus because I strongly believe that we all need someone to cheer us on. We all need someone to remind us that we are good enough and we just need to rise above our fears. So, step one of this 7 step framework of how to overcome your fear so that you can take more action on your business is to define your fears. You cannot battle with an enemy that you don't know. What kind of battle is that? You first of all need to define your fear. What exactly are you fearing? You must be very specific about that fear. Sometimes I've met people I'm training to start their businesses, and you ask the person, what are you afraid of? They're like, I don't know, but I'm afraid. And then I tell them, you see, you can't fight an enemy you don't know. So the first step is define your fear. What specifically are you afraid of? It's not just enough to say, I'm afraid of cells. That is too broad. You need to look at what exactly within cells, within the cells process, are you afraid of? Say, for example, you are afraid of being rejected. So you need to write that specifically, that I am afraid of the rejection during the sales process. So there, once you know that it is the rejection that you're afraid of, you have defined the enemy, and so you can have clear strategies to deal with the fear of rejection. Now, step two is now for you to deconstruct that fear. Remember, fear is actually, I love to call it an illusion. Eh? It's an illusion that has very many building blocks. So you need to be able to tear down, break down that fear, deconstruct the fear. Where exactly did this fear of rejection come from? You need to go to the root cause. Why is it that I am so scared of rejection? When you actually try to look deeper, you'll find that your fear of rejection may not be stemming just from the fear of rejection at the level of cells, but probably your fear of rejection started when you were a little child. A few weeks ago, I was interacting with a client and just trying to understand her story and why she was timid. Very many people believed in her and applauded her for so many good things, but she didn't see this goodness in her, in herself. And when I took a bit of time to just deconstruct why she behaved the way she behaved, despite the fact that people saw many good things in her, I realized that her fears began right from the time when she was a little child. She was rejected as a little child. She was told things that, you're not good enough. And sometimes some of these statements are not just only made by our parents, sometimes they are made by our teachers, sometimes they're even made by strangers. But remember, our foundations never leave us alone. Our foundations affect us even to the day, even to adults, to our adult stages. So it's very important to be able to deconstruct that fear and ask yourself, why exactly is this? Sometimes it could be because you have been rejected by a girlfriend, rejected by a boyfriend, rejected by a business partner, rejected by an employer. So you frame it in your mind that if all of those people rejected me, so probably this person is also going to reject me. And so you frame that as a fear for the rejection in the sales process, not knowing that it was constructed 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 months ago by an experience, a rejection experience that you actually had. So it's very important to go to the root cause of something. Because if you don't go to the root cause of your fear, guess what is going to happen? One morning, you're just going to wake up and say, okay, now I'm courageous. It's not enough just to say I'm courageous. Today you'll be courageous, and the next day you'll be fearful. I want us today to be able to have a deep solution that will enable you overcome fear at a deep level so that the next time you're able to go out courageously and do that thing that you're afraid of. So once you have defined the fear, deconstructed that fear, then the third step is to reframe that fear. If, for example, you are rejected by a boyfriend or girlfriend who told you you're not good enough, stand up in front of the mirror and tell yourself, hey, you are the most amazing person that I have ever seen in this world. It doesn't matter what the rest of the world thinks. Tell yourself what you believe about yourself. So for every negative statement that was made, that was made over your life or even made by you, you need to be able to reframe it into a positive direction. If someone told you your product is not good enough, reframe it and say, this product is amazing and it is changing lives. Now, I'm not telling you not to accept feedback. and calling a very bad product good just because I've told you to reframe it. No, by the time you make that statement, you must be sure that indeed the product or service that you're selling is actually good. So you reframe all the negative statements with positive statements. I remember many times when I would tell myself that I would fear, and because I was young, every time I walked up to the stage to speak to an audience of men and women older than me, I remember telling myself, you know what, Lydia, you are the most qualified right now. By virtue of the fact that you're standing on this platform and you're seated down right now, you are the most qualified right now. So go there and give it your best. And guess what? Most times when I reframed statements in that way, I actually did stellar presentations, and people were asking me after the presentation, wow, that was amazing. And within, I was thinking, oh, you don't know what was happening before I mounted up that stage. So the third is to reframe. The fourth is then to define solutions to that fear. Now, when you're defining solutions, start with the easiest. Let us say you, for example, have to make a sale and you're very afraid that you're going to be rejected. Write down, define the steps that you're going to take to actually overcome that fear. Step one might actually be preparing your proposal document. Step two may be making that call to schedule the appointment with the marketing manager or the human resource manager or whatever manager you have to make. So put them in a chronological order such that step one builds onto step two builds onto step three, and each of the steps, the first step should not be harder than the third step. Why should you put them in such an order? You should put them in such an order because it's important, like you'll see in towards the last step, that when you take small steps, they stir your courage within to even do bigger things. So once you have defined them, then you go to step number 4, which is counting the cost of inaction. Count the cost of inaction. If you don't take action on this particular fear, what is the cost of your inaction? And it's not important just to count the cost of inaction in the moment. You want to count what is the cost of inaction. For example, if it is a sale that you're fearing to make, ask yourself, what is the cost of inaction of inaction right now? What is the cost of inaction in 3 months? What is the cost of inaction in 6 months? What is the cost of inaction in 1 year? What is the cost of inaction in 5 years? Oh, yes, because sometimes the cost of inaction in 1 month may not look really significant. But when you look at, for example, the cost of inaction in 5 years, it would be so scary that it will just stir you to take action on that thing that you're fearing. Let's say, what's the cost of inaction if you, for example, decided not to take action on your fear of rejection of sales? Chances are high that the business that you started will shut down. What's the cost of a business shutting down? You feel so bad about yourself. So you see, when you count the cost of inactions, they will stir you to take action. Beyond counting the cost of inaction, number 5 is to make sure you count the cost, the pleasure of action. So this is no longer cost. You're counting the pleasure of action. If I took action today, if you took action today and decided to work on that fear of rejection, what are some of the pleasurable things that you will enjoy? And just like the cost of inaction, count it also in terms of period of time. What is the cost of action right now? If I picked up my phone right now to call this manager to seek an appointment to meet them, to tell them about my product or service, what is the cost of the action right now? The cost at the moment is that it will make you feel good about yourself and feel encouraged to build your business. But then also ask yourself, what is the cost of this action in 3 months? What's the cost of this action in 6 months? What's the cost of this action in 1 year and in 5 years? Guess what? By taking action, you have potential to build a business that you can pass on to your children, a legacy. Think about it. The Bible says that a good man leaves an inheritance to his children's children. So if you're going to leave an inheritance to your children's children, you must take action. Can you imagine the cost of the joy of leaving an inheritance at your deathbed? Because I took action, I have left my children and my children's children a business that they can actually, thrive on. So once you have counted the cost of the pleasures of action, then you will need to go to step number 7, which is actually now taking the action on the steps. Remember the solutions? At step 4, you had defined certain solutions. So you start taking action on these solutions just as you had listed them in that chronological order. Why am I encouraging that you take them in that chronological order? Because when you take the first baby step, it will give you courage to take the next baby step. You see, the reason why many times we fail to overcome our fears is because you want to move from taking no action at all to taking massive action all of a sudden. While it sounds good theoretically, it may not give you the results. Have you noticed that when you dip your hand in a pot of very hot water, the first reaction is to pull it out? Yes, that's what happens when you all of a sudden try to move from a place of a lot of fear to all of a sudden massive courage. That's what will happen. You will dip your hand in the pot and then come out and guess what? Chances are high that you will not want to even attempt again. So move with the baby steps. Guess what? The baby steps will give you courage. And every time you you take a baby step and it goes on well, celebrate yourself. Guess what? Celebration stars more celebration. Have you watched a football game and noticed that, one of the players scores a goal and within another 5 minutes or less before the game can go any further, someone else has scored a goal? Guess what caused that? Celebration. So every time you take a courageous step, celebrate that win, however small it is, whether it was just picking up your call to make that phone call that you have been scared to make. Celebrate yourself, do something, have your happy dance, in whatever way you want to celebrate yourself. I don't know how you want to celebrate yourself, but I personally always have my happy dance that when I've done something, I will always do my happy dance. It is not something small. When you actually do that, you release happy hormones in your body, which stir you to take on more steps in the direction of your goals. Now, there's also this methodology that I like, which is not my methodology. You can check it out. It's by Mel Robbins, the 5-second rule. I've tried the 5-second rule and hey, it works. With the 5-second rule, what do? Let's say, for example, you want to make a call to one of your potential prospects and you're so scared. You're afraid. People have told you, hey, not anyone can talk to this lady, not anyone can talk to this gentleman. So with the 5-second rule, you'll get your phone, get the number of that particular lady or gentleman that you're afraid to talk to, type their number, and then count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Tap the phone to start ringing and then say, hello, madam. This is so and so. My name is Lydia, and I'm calling you for this. Do you have a few minutes? I would like to share with you something that would be valuable to your business. And guess what? No matter what she says, whether he or she gives you a positive response or not, you have done it. I've tried the 5-second rule many times, and guess what? It has worked for me. So I hope that 7-step framework will actually help you. It doesn't matter how much or how many times you listen to the 7-step framework. The work works. It works when you actually take action on it. So if you are ready to take action on this 7-step framework, just type in the comment section, I am taking action on the 7-step framework. Type in, because that is already a step. By the way, that is already a step you're taking by just going into the comment section and saying, I am taking action today. You are starting to get yourself out of that fear mode. Am I saying that it will always be easy? No. Am I saying that it will be worth it? Yes. When I look back at my journey, I realize that the more action I have taken, the more courage I have grown. Courage is like a muscle. The more you exercise it, the more it grows. And before you know it, you'll be courageous enough to do big things that will blow your mind. So I just want to welcome you to stay a part of this family. Like I told you at the start, not everyone can easily take courage, can easily take action on their own. So if you're afraid of taking action on your own, just tap the subscribe button and join us. Become a part of this unstoppable family, because as long as you are around me and the other members of the unstoppable family, guess what? We are going to encourage you to take action on your goals, on your dreams, and on your businesses. And just in case you're there and wondering, Lydia, for me, it is fear to the point of starting. I want to start a business and don't know how to get started. You can check in the comment section on the 27th, on the 26th and 27th of this month. I'll be having my free Monetize Your Passion masterclass, where I'll be helping you to take steps towards starting that business that you've been procrastinating on. Thank you so much for joining me. And don't forget to join me next Tuesday, because your life is meant to impact others. Overcome your fears today. Let's do it together.